What is the meaning of life? That's the question that each and every person has asked at some point in their lives. And although we believe that the question is best explored on your own personal journey, it does help to hear a few pointers from others who have thought about this question as well. Here is Elon Musk's take on it, which is simple but also quite profound.
One very last question. When I asked you what is the meaning of life during a dinner,
42.
You said after a while, well, probably this wonderful French cheese. Could you please explain?
Well, I was just saying that you want to take a moment to appreciate things in life and the sensations. Food's incredible, and there's just so many good things that you can experience. Some of them cost nothing, really. Have a walk in nature or just a nice meal, and it's like, wow, that's pretty great, And we should take a moment to appreciate these little things, the big things, the things that move your heart. I think that's probably the meaning of life, as close a definition as I can think.
If you want a deeper, more rational answer to the question, here's an excerpt from well-known tech investor Naval Ravikant, where he provides 3 answers to the meaning of life, and is one of the most elaborate explorations we've heard for this very difficult question.
I want to end with a really unbounded big question, which is, what is the meaning and purpose of life?
Yeah, it's a big question. I'll give you 3 because it's such a big question, I'll give you 3 answers. One is it's personal. You have to find your own meaning. Any piece of wisdom that anybody else gives you, whether it's Buddha or you or me, is going to sound like nonsense. So I think fundamentally you just have to find for yourself. So the important part is not the answer, it's the question. You just have to sit there and dig with the question, and it might take you years or decades. But when you find an answer you're happy with, that will be fundamental to your life. The second answer I would give is there is no meaning to life. There's no purpose to life. Osho says it's like riding on water or building houses in sand. The reality is you've been dead for the history of the universe, whether it's 10 billion years or more. You will be dead for the next 70 billion years or so until the heat death of the universe. And anything you do will fade. It'll disappear, just like the human race will disappear. The planet will disappear. Get to Mars, even that group will disappear. So no one's going to remember you past a certain number of generations, whether you're an artist or a poet or a conqueror or a pauper or nothing. So there's no meaning. So you have to create your own meaning, which is what it boils down to. You have to decide, is this a play that I'm going through, that I'm just watching? Is there a self-actualization dance that I'm doing? Is there a specific thing that I just desire just for the heck of it? But these are all meanings you are making up. There's no fundamental, intrinsic, purposeful meaning to the universe. Because if there was, then you would just ask the next question. You say, well, why is that the meaning? Right? So it would just be, as Richard Feynman said, it would be turtles all the way down. The whys would just keep accumulating. There is no answer you can give to that question that wouldn't have another why. And I don't buy the everlasting afterlife answers, because it seems insane to me, with absolutely no evidence, to believe that because of how you lived 70 years here on this planet, that you're going to spend an eternity, which is a very long time, in some afterlife. What kind of silly God judges you for eternity based on some small period of time here? So I think that after this life, it's very much like before you were born. Remember that? It's going to be just like that. and when before you were born, you didn't care about anything or anyone, including your loved ones, including yourself, including humans, including whether we go to Mars or whether we stay on planet Earth, and whether there's an AI or not. You just don't care. So I met this entrepreneur who was obsessed with Steve Jobs, and he was making all these sacrifices to try and be like the next Steve Jobs. And I said to him, do you want to be exactly like Steve Jobs right now? He said, yes. And I said, well, Steve Jobs is dead. He doesn't care about anything. He's gone, like zero. He's not registering at all. So if you want to be like Steve Jobs, you don't want to be like Steve Jobs. Just be you right now. He would trade places with you right now in an instant if he could. So I don't think there's any real meaning or purpose to life. And then the last answer I'll give you is a little more complicated than that. From what I've been reading in science, friends of mine have written books on this, have kind of stitched together some theories, and maybe there is a meaning to life, but it's not a very satisfying purpose. Basically, in physics, the arrow of time comes from entropy. Second law of thermodynamics says that entropy only goes up, which means disorder in the universe only goes up, which means concentrated free energy only goes down. And if you look at what living things are, living systems, humans, plants, civilizations, what have you, these are systems that are locally reversing entropy. Humans locally reverse entropy because we have action. But in the process, we globally accelerate entropy until the heat death of the universe. So you could come up with some fanciful theory, which I like, that we're headed towards the heat death of the universe, where there's no concentrated energy, where everything is sort of at the same energy level, and therefore we're all one thing. We're essentially indistinguishable. And what we are doing as living systems is we're accelerating getting to that state. So the more complex of a system you create, whether it's through computers and civilization or through art and mathematics or just through creating a family, you're actually accelerating the heat death of the universe. So you're pushing us towards this point where we end up as one thing. But I think that's kind of an unsatisfying answer if you're looking for personal meaning today in your life.
Another perspective is the one offered by Yuval Noah Harari, author of the book Sapiens, where he goes into humanity's nature to weave stories within his existence, and where that can be both depressing and liberating at the same time.
I think people tend to be depressed when they look at the really big picture, because people tend to find meaning in stories. I mean, usually when people ask, what is the meaning of life? Who am I? What am I doing here?
Yes.
They expect, I'll give an answer in a minute.
Okay.
Wait. The problem is the kind of answer they expect. In almost all cases, they expect to get a story. They expect to get a story with a role for them in the drama. I just need to find out the whole world is a stage, all people are actors. I just need to find out what is my role in the cosmic drama and fulfill it. And that's it. That's the meaning of life.
I thought it was 42. No, that was...
Oh, I'm getting to that. And the thing is that in order to be successful, a story needs to answer for two conditions, to fulfill two conditions. First of all, it must have a role for me in the story. If somebody comes and says, look, God created the universe and the earth and the ants, and he gave laws to the ants, and the ants do this and the ants do that, and at the end of time he will come and judge the ants, and the good ants will go to heaven and the bad ants will go to hell. And then you say, yeah, but what about me? And what about all the other humans? The humans, they don't have any role to play. Nobody will follow such a prophet. So the story must have a role. Yeah. The story must have a role in it for me. And secondly, very importantly, the story must extend beyond my horizons. It should be something that really encompasses me, that I can't think beyond. And what's the meaning of that? And the wider your horizons, the more difficult it is to find a story that gives meaning to your life. We both come from Israel, so you probably can understand the following story. That as a teenager, the first big story of my life, I tried to find the meaning of life, was the nationalist story. That, the meaning of life, I need to serve the Israeli nation, and like you go in school, you have the Independence Day ceremonies and their Memorial Day ceremonies, and everybody dresses in white, and you read poems in memory of the fallen soldiers, and you wave flags and all that, and you get, this is the meaning of life. If I serve my country, and if I even give my life to my country, then I've done it. My life has meaning, and I will be part of the eternal Jewish people and Israeli nation, and that's it. I fulfilled my part in the cosmic drama. But I remember that even when I was 13 or 14, I knew that the universe existed for 13 billion years. And there is a good chance it will exist for another 13 billion years. And I started asking myself, well, will the Jewish people and Israel exist in 100 years? Probably yes, hopefully. 1,000 years? Maybe. 10,000 years? Very unlikely. 10 million years? You're kidding. But the universe will still exist in 10 million years. And there won't be a Jewish people or an Israeli nation in 10 million years. So just becoming a part of the story of the Jewish nation, it means nothing in the really big scheme of things. So
So the answer to my previous question is yes, you are depressed.
No,
Means nothing. It's like no purpose for you.
Eventually I realized that the meaning of life does not come in the shape of a story with a role for me to play. And yes, people do get depressed when they begin to think in very big terms, because almost no story manages to hold out when you think in very big terms. I mean, there is another famous, this story about the turtles, that somebody asks, somebody believes that the earth is like this big immobile rock. And then they ask him, okay, and what keeps the rock in place? Oh, it's on the back of an elephant. And what keeps the elephant in place? Oh, it's on the back of a turtle. And the turtle on the back of another turtle. And that turtle, it's turtles all the way down, from there onwards. So when you really think big, most stories collapse. But if you realize that it's just the human expectation to receive an answer in terms of a story, this is the problem, there is no reason to be depressed.
Whatever answer you find, we hope that it helps you in truly finding yourself and living your life.